we on? Yeah, okay. Good morning. Welcome to Kent County, Maryland Department of Planning, Housing and Zoning Administrative Hearing. My name is Bill Mackey. I'm the director. Carla Gerber is the deputy director in the audience. She'll be presenting an item. Mark Carper is our associate planner who's also presenting an item, and Campbell Safian is our planning specialist who's serving as clerk. On our agenda today is June 15th, 2023, and we're reviewing 3 applications. One submitted by Stephen and Lisa Driscoll for an administrative buffer, one submitted by Sebastian and Mary Ferrer for an administrative special exception for an oversized accessory structure, and one for James and Mary Price for an administrative special exception for an oversized accessory structure as well. Before we begin, we had a request yesterday to reorder the items on the agenda because someone would like to testify who's on a tight time schedule. Is that person in the room who made that request yesterday? Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. And which item did you want to testify on? Ferrer. Okay. Is someone here representing the Driscolls? So there's no representative for the Driscoll. Okay. We can certainly take those items in a different order. So before we begin, I just want to explain how these hearing procedures proceed. Staff reads into the record the staff report, and anyone who's present can cross-examine the staff member during the hearing. Applicant or applicant's representative then presents, and anyone in the audience can cross-examine those parties. If the applicant has any witnesses to present on behalf of the application, then they would do so, and then anyone who is opposed to the item can make a presentation. And everyone in the room has the ability to cross-examine anyone else in the room. It's easy enough to do. After everyone has spoken, the applicant and anyone who's protesting can make a final or closing arguments if desired. And we go through the process of swearing everyone in. Usually we do that all at once, and then before we start, the clerk reads into the public record the notice of the hearing. So if you plan on testifying and speaking at this meeting today, please raise your right hand and answer this question. Do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give is true to the best of your belief and knowledge? Okay, thank you. And when you come up to the microphone, if you would, please just state your name and your property address for the record. All righty, so with that done, let's have the clerk read the public advertisement for all 3 at once into the record. It should save some time.
The following notice was placed in the Kent County News on June 1st, 2023. On Thursday, June 15th, 2023, at 10 a.m., the Kent County Director of Planning, Housing, and Zoning will hold a public hearing in the County Commissioner's hearing room at 400 High Street, Chestertown, Maryland. Stephen and Lisa Driscoll requesting an administrative variance from buffer requirements to construct a new septic system within the critical area buffer. The property is located at 31468 Sassafras River Avenue. Sebastian and Mary Ferrer requesting an administrative special exception to construct a 2,172 square foot accessory structure with a median height of 19.5 feet on a property less than 5 acres. The property is located at 21082 Wyoming Avenue. James and Mary Price requesting an administrative special exception to construct a 1,440 square foot accessory structure with a median height of 18 feet on a property less than 5 acres. The property is located at 8200 Mount Pleasant Plantation Lane. Letters were mailed to adjacent property owners on May 30th. The Driscoll property was posted on May 31st, and the Ferrer and Price properties were posted on June 2nd.
Were there any pieces of correspondence received for these items?
No correspondence was received.
Okay, thank you very much, Campbell. All righty, so since we have the items on the agenda in order, I'm going to take item 2336 first. Mr. Carper, if you could give a summary of your staff report. And before we proceed, I guess, has everyone had the opportunity to see and read the staff report? If you have not seen and read the staff report, raise your hand. Okay, so why don't we give a kind of high-level overview since everyone's familiar with that. And for folks who are following online or looking at the recording of the entire staff report is posted on our website for the Planning and Zoning Department, so on our portal page. So, thank you.
Okay. As mentioned, the Ferrers are seeking a special exception for a large accessory structure on their property. There was a bit of a difference in what was advertised in the public announcement in regards to the height of the building as opposed to what's in the staff report. What's represented in the staff report is 21.25 feet in height, as expressed in the narrative that accompanied the application. The 19.5 was my estimation based upon the building plans I received, so that was some difference there. There are a set of standards required to be met to be granted a special exception. Our comments in regards to those requirements are as follows. Per the Department of Public Works, the structure may not be used as an additional residence or rental house. A buffer enhancement plan is required to mitigate for the 1,170 square feet increase of lot coverage in the critical area. All mitigations should be Maryland natives. With required mitigation, the proposed activity will not have an adverse impact on water quality nor negatively impact fish, wildlife, or plant habitat. Several of the parcels in the neighborhood have larger accessory structures. Therefore, the proposed structure will not have adverse impacts to adjacent or neighboring properties, nor negatively impact the character of the neighborhood. Comprehensive plan is neutral on this application. Request is consistent with critical area law. Proposed development is reasonable use of the property, and we recommend approval for the special exception with the following recommended conditions: that use as an additional residence or rental is not permitted unless approved by the Kent County Department of Public Works, that a buffer enhancement plan is required or submitted for the increase in lot coverage in the critical area, and special exception will lapse after expiration of 1 year if no substantial construction in accordance with the plans herein presented occurs. Thank you.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm curious why the Public Works Department has that requirement. Did they mention why?
They did not.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Because it's a two-story structure that has a half bathroom and a kitchenette.
But we do permit accessory
We
dwelling
do.
It would
units.
require an additional allocation,
I see.
Yep.
So,
which I think they did indicate in their.
so an accessory dwelling unit will be permitted, but additional steps would be needed. Okay, thank you. All righty, is someone here to represent the Ferrers? Morning. If you would, for the record, state your name and address. And I think you have to press the button so it turns green. There you go.
Good morning. My name is Jay Silcox. My address is 312 Park Row in Chestertown.
Thank you. Thanks, Jay. So, if you would, give us an overview of your application.
So I'm in agreement with the county's representation of the project. The building is going to be a 33 by 35 foot structure, 2 stories, garage on the first floor just to be used for vehicle and, lawn maintenance, storage. Second floor is open space, but it will have a kitchenette and a half bath. I don't think we've shared any proposed siding samples or colors, but it is going to match the existing house or adjacent properties.
Okay.
Nothing out of the normal.
All righty. Okay, thank you very much. All righty. So are there any folks in the audience here to speak on this item? If so, please come forward. And for the young man who just entered, we're on the Ferrer application. If you're here for Ferrer, that's what we're on. All righty. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
If you would state your name and address for the record.
Robert Adams, 21101 Iowa Avenue, Chestertown, 21620.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Bob Adams. My wife Kathy and I are adjoining property owners next to Sebastian and Mary Ferrer at 21082 Wyoming. We support their request for an administrative special exception and hope you will grant it to them. It has been a delight watching their property take shape. Everything they do is always well thought out and professionally executed. The ambiance is always pleasing to the eye. They are kind and considerate neighbors who bring real value to our community. We are certain their request will bring added value to our property values. There is a saying in aviation, if it looks right, it is right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Okay.
Appreciate you coming down.
Pleasure was mine.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move into the decision phase. I'd like to include the TAC comments, staff report, and the testimony presented officially in the record. Based on these items, I would grant approval of the request with the conditions as noted by staff, with the additional condition that I think is mentioned in the testimony, that the finishes would match the existing house. So that decision is usually prepared in writing in about a week or two. There's a 30-day period that an appeal may be filed, so we can't issue a building permit for 30 days, but we can work on that permit and proceed with review, et cetera. We just don't actually issue it for 30 days. So oftentimes people aren't ready in 30 days anyway, so, but, yes.
Do you want to consider 2 years as opposed to 1?
Oh, that's a good question. Would you like us to grant a 2-year lapse period as opposed to 1 year? We've been doing that for some projects because people have problems getting contractors.
Certainly wouldn't hurt.
Okay, then I would amend my decision to include a 2-year time limit for this application. Thank you, Mark. Okay, thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
All right. All righty. I'm going to assume that perhaps James and/or Mary Price and their representative is in the room. Yes? Okay, thank you. Thank you all for coming. Feel free to come up. Okay. And Carla's going to present an overview of the staff report. I'm assuming that you've read the staff report.
I tried.
You tried?
My husband sent it to me and I couldn't read it on my phone, so.
Okay.
I think
Well,
I
there's a
understand.
copy before you of the whole packet. You're welcome to keep that copy for yourself. And maybe, Carla, you can do a little more in-depth so that you, no, you're welcome, of course.
All right. Mr. and Mrs. Price are requesting a special exception to construct a garage with a floor area of 1,440 square feet and a median height of 18 feet. The proposed structure will be a 30-foot by 40-foot pole building with a 30-foot by 8-foot lean-to on the southern end. In 2018, a special exception for a 40-foot by 48-foot detached garage was granted. The property also has a 1.5-story house, swimming pool, other accessory uses, and is located on Mount Pleasant Plantation Lane. Staff and TAC comments. The proposed accessory building will be located in the rear yard behind the garage that was constructed in 2018. It will be approximately 36 feet from the rear property line and complies with the setback requirements for the subdivision. There are 2 smaller sheds that are going to be removed, and a demolition permit has been issued for that. The surrounding area is characterized by single-family dwellings and farmland. The proposal is consistent with the intent of the ordinance, and staff recommends approval. There was with the following conditions, that no plumbing is permitted unless approved by the health department, and that the special exception would lapse after 1 year if no substantial construction has occurred.
Okay, thank you very much. If you'd like to state your name and address officially for the record.
Mary Price, 8200 Mount Pleasant Plantation Lane.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Price. Would you like to say any words about your application?
I agree with everything she just said. We just want to put a storage building behind the current building.
Okay, all right, thank you. I did have one question about the application. Is there any internal connection between the existing building and the lean-to? No.
She's going to sit right behind it.
Okay, all righty. It's what it appeared to be, but I just wanted to kind of clarify. So thank you very much. So regarding the decision, I would like to accept the TAC committee minutes, the staff report, and I think your confirmation of the report as your testimony, and I would decide for approval with the conditions listed by staff, and why don't we do it for 2 years as well, just in case. There seems to be a lot of trouble getting contractors. So thank you for coming down. You know, part of this purpose is so that the neighbors know what's happening and they receive letters, and everyone can comment if they wish. So appreciate you taking the time. So thank you. Thank you, Carla. All righty. No hurry. Stay safe.
Yes, sir. I have no scissors.
Goodbye, Ms. Price. All righty, we have item 23-37 for Stephen and Lisa Driscoll. Good morning. Have you had an opportunity to read the staff report?
No, I am not. I talked to my dad. He would normally be here. My dad wouldn't be here, but they're out of town right now.
Okay. Well, it's nice
I had an email copy, but I just didn't have it. Thank you.
And we'll maybe do a little more detailed presentation without reading all the applicable sections of the law. And if you don't mind, for the record, if you'd state your name and address.
Yeah, it's Hayden Driscoll, 31468 Sassafras River Avenue.
Perfect. Thank you, Hayden.
Stephen and Lisa Driscoll are requesting a variance from buffer requirements to install a septic system within the 100-foot buffer of the critical area. The project in total includes the demolition of the existing dwelling, it's built in 49, and the construction of new dwelling along with the proposed upgrade of the septic system to best available technology. In regards to this requirement, the critical area, since it's a modified buffer area, does not require a variance for septic replacement within the 100-foot portion. Our code does require that. That's why we're going through this process. They sent a letter to that effect, so critical area commission has no response other than that none is required in terms of variance for this particular application. The placement or potential placement for this septic system is limited by the existing structure and the proposed replacement and the existence of the well. So a certain distance that's required between the well and the septic system itself, and this is the only viable location for that. That creates a practical difficulty of replacing it or putting it elsewhere outside the 100-foot buffer. There are no trees proposed to be taken out during this process. There will be some disruption in the soil itself, and critical area just requires it be replenished or put back to its original pre-development condition.
Which I understand is turf, is that correct?
It's turf, yeah. There's some small bushes, but in doing the site consultation with them, the contractor, as we're informed, believes they won't have to remove those particular bushes near the house. The general comments in regards to the requirements for assessing this application, as I mentioned before, position of the dwelling, the distance to the well, this limits the other options. The variance will not cause any detriment to adjacent or neighboring properties. Critical areas are reviewed and responded to this application. The strict application ordinance would produce an unwarranted hardship, making the entirety of the property unusable as a residence. The granting of this variance will not confer upon the applicant any special privilege. The proposed development is reasonable use of the property, and Kent County Health Department has no objections to its proposal. Therefore, we recommend approval of this variance from buffer requirement to install the septic system with the following recommendations: that the location where the system is to be installed is returned to pre-activity condition, such as through placement of topsoil and seeding, and the variance hereby granted should lapse in 1 year if no substantial construction has occurred.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carter. So, Hayden, would you like to say anything?
That pretty much gets all of it. There's no other place for the septic tank to go, and that was what my dad stressed to me. It was the best available technology, so no,
Okay.
that's all important.
So you concur with Mr. Carver's report?
Yes.
Carper. So, okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
coming down. So at this point, I want to include formally the TAC committee comments and recommendations as part of the record, the staff report as so well presented, and also your confirming testimony, and I would decide for approval of the application as presented, I think with the one change as we've been doing to make the lapse period to be 2 years, just give it extra time, so.
Cool.
All righty. Well, thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
You too. All righty. Thank you, Mr. Carper. All righty, and at this point, we have no more applications. There's no one in the audience or online, so we're going to close this hearing.